election season is money making season.
Go ahead.
Well, there's something else too that I find very disturbing about this hype around RFK and Marianne Williamson, especially when it comes to outlets like, let's say, Kyle Kalinske, or even I know a couple people like TYT and Brianna Joy Gray. They're all talking about, Marianne Williamson. They're trying to manufacture another Bernie Sanders moment, which will never happen again.
Right.
The DNC is going to make sure that doesn't happen. And what I see in many ways, and maybe I don't know, folks. Let's maybe I'm going to open up a can of worms here, but I can't help but think that the 5-letter word of more money for their channel is their incentive to try and hype up another candidate. Because again, TYT made a huge killing in 2016 with the Bernie Sanders campaign, and then all the hype in 2022 to try and get that lightning in a bottle again. And the thing is, you guys have called it the professional managerial class, the leftist groups, the larger channels want to recreate that Bernie Sanders moment of, oh, hey, we got this exclusive interview with a presidential candidate. Oh, hey, donate to us and we'll make sure it happens. Give us $2 million and we'll have 4 horsemen of the apocalypse who do journalism in the field, which never happened.
Yeah.
Money is the thing. And I fear that people are going to fall in line with that idea. And the thing is, who is the left and what is the current status of the left? It hasn't finished yet consuming itself to where it's destroyed, to where we can rebuild something. And you guys have coined it best, and I think this is the best strategy to use. I'm even going to call a good friend of the show, Roger Meadows, and that is starting building local chapters and communities, building on social movements and organizations not connected to Washington, D.C., supporting citizen ballot initiatives like Roger Meadows, and doing third parties or independents. And I've gotten some pushback from people who said, well, gee, I like this idea of third party, but I'm going to vote Republican. I'm going to vote Democrat because my state doesn't allow it. To which my counter is, then fight for it. Fight to make sure your state has citizen ballot initiatives. Fight to put third parties and independents on the debate stage, on the ballot, and fight to start building chapters. That's the difference that we should be doing now for this election cycle. Not saying, oh, DNC, RNC, we're going to cover these candidates. Break away from that. Start building your own thing. That's what people need to do. And it's going to be an arduous fight. We may not do it this election cycle, but let's start now building the groundwork for it. And RBN, I got to give you guys credit for it. That's what we need. Roger Meadows, citizen ballot initiatives. That's what we need.
I saw that on Sabby Show. He was on the Sabby Show, and I saw that stream. It's a really informative stream if people did not see that. Let me interject this for everybody. Election season, to your point, Kit, about some in the professional managerial class that overlaps with the Bernie Sanders industrial complex. Election season is money-making season.
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So this is the push. It's like, what do you mean? Yeah. There's no candidate. What are you talking about? Like, this is like my season's coming up, the NBA season, the NFL season, whatever season, you're a poker tournament. This is the season. It's like, we're canceling. What do you mean? This is where I make my money. This is where I make the bulk of the money. Imagine for those temporary Halloween costume stores, we're canceling Halloween.
You're right. Exactly.
What?
No costumes this year.
What?
Right.
No.
You canceling what? Halloween? No, we're not. We're not canceling. So that's the point, or that's I think what Kit was saying. The point of election season is money making season. The last time they had a large growth was during an election. The last, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you look at the Humanist Report, Beardless Humanist Report, that grew his channel 25,000, 50,000, and then another 25 during a year. And then the next election, another 75. You get what I'm saying? So they understand that election cycles, specifically those where we have a candidate, we're never going to meet that. It's like getting that first high. You're never gonna get that. You're never gonna get that high again.
Oh yeah.
And that's what the professional managerial class continuously is trying to do. And I'm using the drug kind of metaphor to be funny, but that's continuously what they're trying to do. Is just trying to keep freebasing. Oh, let me try to get to this maximum high, and it's never going to be.
And that's why I think that was cool. That's why they was cool with us off election year. Many of them been on our show talking about, we're done with electoralism. He done with the Democratic Party. They were saying that on off election years.
Mhm.
And CJ, we talk behind the scenes many times. We see who's real with 2020.
Right.
Well, you remember Anna after they struck down Roe v. Wade
Yeah,
actually had
I
a moment of
remember that.
honesty.
Yeah.
I'm done with the Democratic Party. They've been playing. It was the most honest she's been in years. They've been playing. Yeah, they did. They did play games with Roe v. Wade. They did.
Now they say,
You see how quick she dropped that?
Now they say, I know I said that before, but we can't let fascism take over.
Can't let. I just today had a conversation with one of the few liberals who has not completely fled from all my feeds. God bless them. And yeah, it was funny because we were talking about this, and this is why it's important to have this kind of a conversation. Because, he said Biden was a decent man. I said, it's funny to me that so many of the people who are, liberals, or as we like to call them, the cowbell left, they really like to defend the idea of woke. These are the ones who will put up the meme. Mm-hmm. If woke means caring about people and having empathy, yes, that's what woke means. And they're the ones who will love to talk about privilege. When you describe Joe Biden, who started his campaign waxing nostalgic about how he worked with segregationists, and they never called him boy, they always called him son. This is recent. This is not 30 years ago. This is how he opened his last campaign.
Yeah.
If you're describing that as a decent man, that is an extremely privileged position. Mm-hmm. You have to be somebody who knows you're never going to jail because of that crime bill to describe this guy as decent. Yeah. And if you have student loans that you need to discharge in bankruptcy that you can't because of him, that's just stupid that you'd be describing this person as a decent man. But this is why having this kind of conversation is important, because obviously this person more open-minded than the people who fled my page, or they would have fled my page a long time ago. and he asked me, no, he's a good guy. And he asked me like, okay, well, so what do we do? See, I have no answer for that. What's up?
I want you to finish, but they always throw that one out, right, CJ?
No, he was
like, but then what?
No, he wasn't asking it like that. He was serious. There's actually another guy in the conversation who was asking it like that, but he wasn't. Okay. And I said to him, I was like, listen, we need to figure that out. I'm looking at what Shama Sawant is doing. That looks promising. I think we need to support union movements in order to build that outside power to challenge the corrupt system. But civil disobedience, general strikes. But right now, this is what I would call the left as opposed to the liberals. It is the fragmented aftermath of the Sanders campaigns. And we need to figure out an answer to that question. Because look, so I have somebody, I proselytize to them, this whole system is fucked. What, are we going to wait until they're telling us we have to vote for a guy like Trump because he's running against a guy like David Duke? How far are we going to let this go? We're already in a place where you're calling Joe Biden, a guy that Richard Nixon would have considered a dangerous right-wing nut job, a decent man. That's already how far right this whole thing is shifted. That Joe Biden, who would have been radically right compared to Richard Nixon. So what are you going to wait for? Are you going to wait until they're telling you to vote for somebody like Trump to stop somebody worse? Like, over the course of our lifetime, has it ever gotten better? No, it's only gotten worse. You've only gone right. So where do you stop? You have to stop somewhere. But then the question comes to me, okay, all right, I'm listening. So what next? We need an answer to that. Because, there's no point to convincing people. Okay, you convinced me. There's no more point to this. Now what? Sorry, man, I got to go.
I think people, and I've had CJ, I know you want to chime in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Electoral politics is a tranquilizing drug. You guys understand?
Nope.
So people, and when I said that earlier, I'm not saying that person was in bad faith. I get this stuff all the time. People that will admit you're right when you got such a solid foundational point, they will always throw their hand up, good faith or bad faith. They're like, okay, Russell, okay, Keaton, okay, Kit, you're right. Then what?